Yeah, make see that you can see more of the board than myself. Okay, so today is, wow, Wednesday, December 5th. Already, huh? Where did the year go? Okay, so today we're going to do a review, and then we'll review the concepts of health information technology, and we'll also we'll look at deep learning, AI, we'll look at blockchain, and security.
Will those be the open-ended ones?
Well, I'm going to go over the open-ended one. Okay? So what I like is I don't like surprises for that, okay? We may not know all the answers, but there won't be, wow, where'd that come from? I had no clue. Okay? Just like your projects. Okay, so let me do a couple of things. I'm going to go to our textbook that we're using. And in our textbook, I'm going to sign in. I'll go to my bookshelf. In my bookshelf, I'll go to Healthcare Information Systems. And we'll go over privacy and security, performance standards and measures, healthcare information systems. And IT alignment and strategic planning and IT governance and management. Okay, that's that part. In my Blackboard, I'm going to go to our section there, and let me go through our course documents. We'll go to the 4th edition, and we'll start with chapter 9. We'll open.
Actually, also, if I may ask, remember when we had that faulty chapter 3 quiz?
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's because my grade here says 608 out of 740.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Okay.
That'll be just it.
Thanks, because I'm looking at it as like...
Yeah, right.
That's,
No, remember
that's
that got a screwy quiz.
Yeah, I was like,
So don't worry.
That's a 79. I should have like a 95.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
Okay.
That'll be adjusted.
Thanks.
Okay. All right, any questions before I begin? Sean, you got any questions or what issues? Yes, so, William.
It's chapter 9 through 13?
9 through 13, yes. So the exam, let's go over that again. Some people were late. The exam then is at 12/12/2018 at 8 p.m.
Yeah.
in this room. 312, right? Memorial. So don't forget, because that's the last, I think, is that the last exam, the last day?
Yeah, I
Right?
literally leave the morning
So some of you will celebrate better. Okay? So we'll be here. I have another exam right before that, so they should be finished well in advance. It starts at 5, so I'm sure they'll finish by, 7. Okay?
Yes.
So we'll have, and people will, it shouldn't take, we have 2.5 hours, but it should be the same format as last time, so there shouldn't be an issue that you need. People that need extra time will have the extra time they need. Okay, anything else that we need to talk about there? And let me just go to that vital here. Let me go back to section 3 in the privacy and security. So you need to know the definition of what is privacy and how confidentiality relates to privacy, and security. So the areas of privacy, confidentiality, and security defined. Know about the Privacy Act of 1974, HIPAA, of course, and the HIPAA privacy rule and the HIPAA security rule. So the key here is the HIPAA privacy rule and the HIPAA security rule, and they're part of the HITECH Act in 2009. Of course, the HIPAA privacy rule, which is so important, relates to a person's physical or mental health, the provision there and the payment. Note that the security role is addressed only for PHI. And what's PHI? What?
Protecting health information.
Right. So in that PHI, it's only when it's in transmitted or maintained in electronic form. So what's the problem with that? If I have that security rule, if I have a piece of paper and I throw it to the trash, pardon? It's not protected. So you can think about then the reality then of the privacy rule. So this made it big here. What else? You need to know about the HIPAA security administrative safeguards. Didn't we have that as an open-ended question last time? So you go through that again of the administrative safeguards. Know the what is a vulnerability? And what we called in the triangle of the CIA. And the C stands for what? What's the A stand for and what's the I stand for? That's a question.
Confidentiality.
Confidentiality. The A is for what?
Accessibility.
Accessibility, availability. And the I is what?
Information.
No. Accessibility. Sometimes they say availability. What's the I?
Integrity.
Integrity. That's key for any security system for information. Why? Of course I want to make it confidential, right? I don't want, if I have my PHI, I want to make it that I know that I can rely on the confidentiality of it. But why, what does integrity mean then? Monica, what's integrity mean?
Integrity is that you can believe in what it represents.
Right. That I can rely on it, that it's accurate. Because if I look at a health record, right, Monica, and I'm not sure, is this updated correctly? Is this really the correct date that the patient was last seen? Is this really the correct age of the person? Can I rely on it? So the integrity is an issue, and also accessibility. So what happens, there's always almost a balance that you need to face, because I can worry about so much of confidentiality, I can worry so much about security, but I can't do my job as a health provider because I can't get to the system well enough, and I can't rely on the system well enough. So these are areas in which you need to know who is going to be assigned the security responsibility. Who's going to have, you see this down the access? Who's going to have access? Remember, think about it like our audit section. Who has access to it? Are they able to write? Are they able to read? Are they able to delete? And of course, you need to make sure that the organization has some kind of training, awareness. You cannot, you remember we talked about the Hall of Shame? What's the Hall of Shame?
It's like that website where it has all the places that
Data
have
breaches.
data breaches, yeah.
One of the things the government can put you in jail or even fine you is that if you're negligent. One of the ways that you are negligent is that you didn't do proper training within your organization. Make sense? So contingency plans, that mean basically, what is my data backup? What kind of disaster recovery plan, right? I live in South Florida, and I haven't made hurricane preparations. Anybody remember we had a couple of years ago, we had the hurricane here, and a nursing home didn't have a backup generator? Anybody remember that? Same people that were in there were also owned some South Florida hospitals here, and this happened before types of situations, right? What type of things are available? Then we need to know about physical safeguards, security physical safeguards. Physical, we talked about it, and we talk about, I always know that I'm going to have some risk in systems. What's important is I have to show that I have proper controls, that I am addressing problems in advance. So I have contingency operations.
I just did
Finished?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Ciao. Workstation security, device security. And then there's technical safeguards. We talked about it last time. Right? Who's in charge? You have to have proper policies and procedures, proper documentation. All of this is showing not only am I going to be more secure, but I'm showing that I'm doing due diligence. Many times I get hacked. Many times, I get hurricanes, but if I've done the proper backup and recoveries. And then we talked about the breach notification rule. We've talked about that already. Their violations. There were so many, we went through this. Threats to healthcare. We talked about a hacker, malware. Know what a virus is. They're generally shared among computers. Know what a Trojan horse is. It's a type of virus designed to look like a safe program. Spyware, a lot of times we have software that's going to help us. Worms, replicates itself. Ransomware, what's ransomware?
You usually send them money like Bitcoin in order for them to give you back control.
It's basically malware that hackers are using to cripple your network. And what they sometimes do, how does it get into the system, is what they have, like fishing expeditions. They make it that they got a fictitious email that looks like it comes from someone else, asks you to click on a link. Last weekend, I got a email from a colleague of mine, and it gave his name, it gave my name, and said, I'm busy right now on a meeting, but it's very important that I speak to you. I have some problems with iTunes. Can you help me out? As soon as I saw that, I know that person, and I said, it's Saturday, he's in no important meeting, you know what I mean? So I just, this was a great, one to take to Alma's class. And then I called him and I said, we're being spammed. And he goes, I said, are you in an important meeting? And he laughed. I think he was at some restaurant. Okay, so, and they took the entire business school's email, and basically, and some people responded. And he even had some people responded to that email and even asked him, I'll be happy to help you with your iTunes, and there were a couple of them wanting to be good. So you can see that healthcare, and then you need a security program. So you'll see here, what else? EPHI, electronic then. The risk, you're always going to have risk. You need to know the difference between what is a risk. Put this in your notes. What's a risk, what's a threat, and what's a vulnerability. And see here, confidentiality, integrity, and availability. I always want to be able to work in my environment, but also make sure, so I want to have my data available for basically what I call the need to know. Every data item there should be defined as need to know. I need to know your grades in my class. I don't need to know your grades in other classes. So should I have you have access to your other classes? No. Right? I need to know things about you for my classes, not for others. So think about it in terms of this way. You can think also, we talked about the national standards. The NIST is a standards organization that also helps in frequently asked questions. And this you should know, what are administrative safeguards, what are physical safeguards, what are technical safeguards. And last time we went over this, right? Remember this that I said for the open-ended question for last time, administrative, physical, and technical safeguards. What's key here is, what does it mean mitigate risk? Deb, what does it mean mitigate risk? Do you know?
Mitigating risk, meaning that you're not minimizing it, but you're trying to
reduce it.
Reduce it, reduce it.
Right, I know I'm going to have risk. I'm never going to be 100% secure. Life is a risk, right? As soon as I get it, right, I wake up in the morning, it's already, I'm at risk. But it's the idea that I want to mitigate risk. I don't want to put things in front of my bed that I'll trip over as soon as I get out of bed, right? So in this case, I want to implement a plan, and I want to communicate an update. Okay, what else? This is just about protecting, maintaining firewalls, of course. What else? Here. Okay, this is good. Look at Exhibit 9.2. This comes from the framework from NIST. Know this exhibit. What this means, think about. What kind of framework do I need to do for cybersecurity? I need to identify what I have. I need to identify what risks I have. I have to know what kind of business environment I'm in. Am I in a hospital? Am I in a clinic? Am I in a university system? Once I identify what are my assets, what I want to protect, what risks I have, how important are my risks, if my entire system goes down, my computer system, can I operate the next day? If I say yes, it's less a problem, then there's no way. If my system is down, we basically have to shut down. So I have to identify my environment. Then what I want to do is I want to protect that environment. Knowing the risk, then I want to protect my environment. And how do I protect it? By setting up controls, setting up training, setting up maintenance, setting up protective technology. So think about it. It really makes sense. I want to identify, I want to protect. What other framework do I want to do? Once I protect it, now I want to detect if I have any problems. Is this campus safe in a cybersecurity way? What do you think, Yami? Is it safe? You don't know. What you want to do is after they've identified the risk, they say they're protecting, now what we want to do is to detect if there are any problems coming into the system. And you want to be able to say, is there anything unusual? Is there continuous monitoring? Is there a way to detect? And once we have the detection, many times we will be violated. So the idea here, we may be violated, we may have problems. Do we have a plan for how we're going to respond? How do we respond? Basically, have we done any planning here? How are we going to communicate it? How are we going to analyze it? How are we going to do mitigation? And how are we going to do improvements? And then, once we've decided that way, then we got to say, okay, we've been hacked. We have malware. We had ransomware. Now, how are we going to recover from those problems? Whatever it was, a hurricane, whatever. The recovery planning, the improvements, and the communication. So once we understand this, does this make logical sense? Of course. So basically, no, I need to identify first, I need to protect, I need to detect, then I need a response, and then I need to recover. That chart right there is the most important for you to understand. You understand? It makes common sense, doesn't it? So that's why they say there's a framework. So the National Institute basically said, this is a framework that we're going to decide for the cybersecurity framework. Everyone should go through these, how they, depending on what assets they have, depending on what environment they have, depending on their size, they'll have different software, hardware groups. Should we do our team here? Should we outsource? And then a good way to do it is look at the key terms. So for every chapter, besides going through the quizzes, is I look at those key terms, and some of those key terms, if I'm not familiar with, look it up in the book, and then you have other resources to look at. Okay, questions on that? So that's review. That's chapter 9, right? Okay, chapter 10 is performance standards and measures. So basically, in the healthcare environment, there's a number of organizations, there's licensures, there's certifications, there are accreditations that you must follow. Some are coming from federal, some are coming from state. And what's the key here is we have definitely data, so we have to check for quality measures and there's a number of commissions that are available. Let me see what else is important. So there's the Joint Commission, the National Committee for Quality Assurance. It's an accrediting body, so everybody needs to be credentialed or re-credentialed on it. What else? Quality of care, that's published. You need to know the Institute of Medicine, right? These are for their 6 aims for quality. Of course, they're looking at safety, effectiveness, patient-centered, the timeliness, efficiency, and that it's equitable. Qualitative data such as patient surveys, health records. What else? HEDIS, HEDIS, is a set of healthcare performance measures. And they report, 90% of health plans report to the U.S. and collect and report this data. Let me just go through this. Benchmarking, comparing yourself to others. So let me go through our vital source here for chapter. For chapter 10. So let me go to chapter 10. And then there's the Federal Quality Improvement Initiatives, the Patient Safety Act, and basically showing that safety has become a real issue here for incidents. So events have to be reported for incidents, near misses, unsafe conditions, trying to get more safety that's available. And then the summary, I think you should read the summary, key terms that you can see here, health effectiveness data. You can put this, you can also have the one-page acronyms if you'd like, so you can put these in, you know, what these are. This one, merit-based incentive payment systems. What's that? Deb, what's that? Have you heard of it?
Of what?
Merit-based incentive payment systems?
Yeah, it's practically fee for service.
It's what?
Fee for service.
Right. So if you go to web links at the very end, you can look at this. I put a little link there for the merit. So you can look at the introduction to merit-based system. It's a 3-minute clip here of talking about PQRS. It's good, so I would look at that. Everybody put that note in. So it's basically, you can think of that of what they're going into is that that merit-based incentive payment system. Okay, let me go back. I can shut this down. That's the key here. Let me go back. Chapter 11 is Healthcare Information System Standards. They're evolving constantly of these IT standards, and they keep on trying to improve it to get more granularity. Data exchange, we talked about the key here. Data is important, and what's lacking in the healthcare environment is data is not easily exchanged compared to other industries, and they're trying to create standards. One of the key standards is the HL7 standard, and that HL7 standard is based on what markup language?
XML?
XML. And the X stands for what?
Extensive?
Extensible. So the XML is the extensible markup language. There are other markup languages. What other popular markup languages are there?
HTML.
HTML. What's the difference between HTML and XML? You need to know. What's the difference? HTML stands for hypertext markup language. Where's that used for? It's used for browsers, right? For the look and feel, for the markup language. XML talks about my data, not the look and the feel. So this is the case. Other standards is by the ANSI accredited standards as well. There's another one for patient care. Let me see what other tables are here. The CCD, you need to know continuity of care document. It's going to be a standard for electronic exchange of patient information. And this is about, again, about HL7. So here are the key terms to look at. What I would concentrate to is data exchange. We need to have some standards on that. That's going to be key as we go along. Here, extensible XML. HL7 here, international. The HIPAA. Right. So that's 11. Let me go back. 12. IT alignment. So what does this mean? It really means that I don't want to buy equipment software for the sake of buying the latest iPhone, the latest software update. Basically what I want to do is I want to have my IT or my information technology part of healthcare aligned to the strategic planning of my organization. So that's a key to basically, IT needs to work with other parts of the organization. That's basically what it's saying here. That my IT initiatives should link to the organizational goals. So if I want patient care quality improvement, I'll look at software and hardware that will work to make this easier to do. For instance, I needed to be all digital. You know, overview strategy. What else do I need here? This is just an overview of, if I have strategy, then my IT agenda has to match that strategy. It's kind of straightforward. What else here? Internet of Things. That's going to be so huge in the healthcare environment. How do I protect it? How do I decide what is going to be useful? How do I decide how well it's working? Let me make sure. If I have any bugs, the security. See if my mic will work. It's not. Okay. Okay. That's 12. Let me see what's here on the end here if we need. This is called the hype cycle. Anybody hear about the Gartner Group? What have you heard? The Gartner Group basically is a research organization that looks at IT trends, looks at the vendors, looks at who are the leaders. So when you think about, they call something the hype cycle for emerging technologies, when everybody's all excited about something, and then how much is it a hype versus how much it takes time to go through it. Lately, what has been hype is blockchain. Remember the hype of the crypto and the tokens and the blockchain? That's died down. The question is, their ideas, once it becomes more mature, then people will start using it in more detail. Okay. Next, key terms then, I would look at that. What's next is 13, IT governance. Basic IT governance means like who is going to be responsible for my IT resources? Who is going to be responsible for my data? Who sets priorities for my IT? How are IT budgets developed? So this is key because what am I going to buy? What's the direction? Am I going to go to mobile? What are the which areas am I going to go to? What about security? So you should know what the governance characteristics are, if they're efficient, if they're timely, if they're clear. Basically, what responsibilities an organization have on IT. What are the users' responsibility for IT? Are they trained properly? What are IT's responsibility? And what are senior management responsibility? And when there's a problem, does everybody just point the finger at anyone else? Does anyone even know if there's a problem? So they go through what are the responsibilities for everyone in. So the principles for what are we going to invest in, how am I going to manage it. What about the board? I have to report to the board. Senior leadership has to be aware that they're just not going to be, they have to be aware of new technologies, what kind of variations I'm going to have, what is my budget, what else? Here's how do I develop my budget. Basically, the problem is I'm going to start all these projects and nobody is going to know, nobody's going to take responsibility. By the time they finish the project, one is that the software is obsolete, the hardware is obsolete, and there's a lot of failures in IT going through, how to avoid these mistakes, how effective is it. We had some programmers program it and they didn't talk to the end users. That's a common one. They don't talk about what is the customer, how's the patient going to receive this. And looking at it as a tool, but rather to help in terms of summary, how to get better health care. So those are the chapters. Any questions on that? Now let's talk about the open-ended. How about that? Okay. So what I would do in terms of the open-ended, I'd go to Blackboard, I go back to Blackboard, and I go into the web links. So I look at one of the questions is, how is artificial intelligence applied to healthcare? So I look at this article. Artificial intelligence is now telling doctors how to treat you. So a good question is basically the application of artificial intelligence in healthcare. Look at this. For now, the recommendation for modernizing medicine, you remember them? Are largely based on what is popular among fellow professionals say, how often doctors on the platform prescribe a given drug or particular lab test, but this month the system will display data on patient outcomes that the company has collected from its subscribers over the past year. Talk about Watson. This is a good article to read. What are the challenges ahead? Okay. So this was on the healthcare and AI. This is on artificial intelligence will redesign healthcare. Big data and artificial will revolutionize our lives. Imagine this efficiency in healthcare and artificial, let's pick in the future, mining medical records, designing treatment plans, assisting repetitive jobs. Health assistance. So applications, so a good question would be in terms of what kind of applications can we use with AI? Precision medicine, drug creation. This is another good article. Everybody writing this down?
What kind of applications we can use with AI stuff?
Yeah.
Got it.
What would be in the future? So this one, I'd look at the article, artificial intelligence will redesign healthcare.
I have a question.
Yes.
Because there were so many, like, could it possibly say, like, give 3 different ways it could, like,
Yeah,
redesign
right.
and
Yeah, right.
elaborate?
You wouldn't have to give every, right.
Okay.
You won't have it. So you can see this on deep learning. Let me just go back. And this one is, I want you to read, is exploring the use of blockchain for EHR's healthcare big data. Look at this. These are the exact same issues we've been discussing throughout the entire course. Blockchain has the potential to revolutionize EHR. Interoperability. What is that?
Different record systems are able to exchange the data.
Right, and the exchange of healthcare big data. So, with blockchain, we've talked about that, right? EHR, enabling patient-centered interoperability, health information exchange. So these are pain points, and these are the opportunities. This chart right here. is good for an open-ended question.
What's that article called again? That's Russian.
It was, healthcare big data was like opening those ones.
Healthcare big data.
Gotcha.
Write it down. Everybody write it down, healthcare big data. This was the other one, on healthcare, artificial intelligence. Let me see what else. Yeah. And this is, the artificial intelligence will redesign healthcare. So basically, the two open-ended would be opportunities and challenges with artificial intelligence in healthcare, and basically those opportunities and challenges with healthcare and blockchain.
It's pretty like up to us and what we explain, right?
Opportunities in health, you said opportunities in health, challenges in healthcare, and then you said, what's
And
With
AI.
And then with blockchain.
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
Both of them. Because I think that's really like the future. Think about it, all those IoTs, this is really the trend. And this will be, and based on those is really the way people are going to be practicing medicine will change. And for the administration, right? And hopefully, we'll come back to what I always say, is that I'll deliver better health care and have better outcomes. And we as humans will be able to do what we do best. And have technology only help us. The only problem is if we will get there, with all those. And then talk about all those other areas where I'm having problems is once I'm so dependent on this technology, do I have these problems that will also interfere with security, right? That I'm more vulnerable. Isn't it? Right? They're helping me efficiently, but look, when am I not going to have ransomware is when somebody's not on any IoTs and they're not using any technology. But think about that. I'm now vulnerable, but do I want to be without it? So in these types of areas that you can think. So you'll need to know the definitions, right? What do I mean? So know what I'm dealing with of artificial intelligence, right? And know of blockchain, and you can think about it, the whole idea. Big data and artificial intelligence will revolutionize our lives. It already has. And there's always a downside to it, But hopefully you'll start learning, and hopefully you'll be doing. And hopefully I'll be able to go to these rural areas where I don't have specialists that will be able to use additional ways. Okay. What else? Comments, suggestions? So hopefully you learned something for all this. I've enjoyed it. I thought your projects were great. It's like a beginning, you can kind of see it. We got to see, I think it was interesting too, to see some of these people that were trying out areas in healthcare. And that's where I think, even with the hype with blockchain and some of these other technologies, healthcare is still so ripe to improve it with technology. And that nobody's going to stop it, and it's the areas that it is really exciting, and you have to find where can I really fit. And when more and more everything's going to our phones and everything's going to wearables, that whole idea you'll be able to do it is, can I get better health care from it? Can I get better outcomes from it? And then maybe on that human to human, then I can start relating the role of the physician or the healthcare provider will then have to start switching to be maybe more one-to-one human interaction as well, developing skills. Remember Dr. Kava, who was here, that's going to be doing that Men's Institute. For his project with me, besides that Men's Institute, he started doing avatars to train physicians for bedside manners, to be able to relate. That he got really smart, fellows, but they couldn't relate to their patients. Maybe we need to do more of that, of relating to our patients. So the advances are numerous. Okay, any other questions? So stay with me. Next semester, let me just go over a couple of things too. We're going to do the exam. You need to do a peer review. And in the peer review, what I'd like is, I'd like you to write that up and print it out and either staple it or put it in an envelope. And you'll give that to me the time of the exam. Monica, you sent me something. Who sent me something? Liz?
That was me. But do you want it on like a 10-point scale or something?
Yeah, you can do a 10-point scale. It's fine. And what you should do is talk about your overall project, what you think it deserved, and then talk about individually what you've done to the specifically what you've done to the project. Not that I did the project, but specifically the tasks that you were doing, and give yourself a grade. And then each person in your group write down what tasks they did for the project and evaluate how well they did on that. And this is confidential. So that's why I'm not having you upload it to the audit area. The second part is next semester I'm working on research on ways to do collaboration using a lot of technology. So those of you that want to work for me or work in additional research, contact me. I'll be teaching next semester on Monday and Wednesday nights. So just like here on Wednesday night, I'll also be teaching on Monday nights. So if you want to help in terms of, I'm going to be looking at different ways to collaboration. If you want to help me in terms of moderating any of those sessions and working with me and looking at new technologies and evaluate them, you can talk to me after class or after the exam or send me an email. Sometimes you can even work remotely, right? Because if we're online, right, you'll be able to work remotely and help me in terms of evaluating some of these as well. So let me know what else. I think we're set, right? Okay. So I'll stay as long as you need me. If you want me to look at any of your projects or discuss anything else, I'm here for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. All mine. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Did you put it up there?
Yeah, it's on.
Can I go?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me go this way. I'll see you. So let me just go back to Blackboard. Go to the audit area. And then course more
Study.
documents, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, William.
Not a